Good afternoon. It is very nice to be among familiar faces. I am grateful to FC and his team for giving this opportunity to have the opportunity of meeting respected seniors, valued colleagues, and bright young officers. I joined service in 1962. So in the last 53 years, I have seen so many changes. Many young people may not know, when I graduated in 1959, there was very few career options. For a person in South India to graduate, the options are a clerk in AG's office, a lecturer in a private college, or a central class 1 service. There was no possibility of a state service. Things have changed in the last 53 years. There are so many career options. We hear about Google paying 2 crores to an engineer. These kind of things were not there at all. So we had to come to central services only. I personally believe I am biased. IRAS is the best service amongst all central services. This I have realized by working in various organizations. The kind of range of activities we do in railway accounts is not matched by any other service, civil accounts, defense accounts, auditing accounts, etc. We do all kinds of work, cash management, salary administration, stores accounts, workshop accounts, so many other things. But I wanted to share with you my experiences in the last 53 years, starting from the day I joined service. In the year 1962, we were not assigned, when we were asked to go to Mussoorie, we were not assigned any service. We were just told you are a central services class 1 officer, you go to Mussoorie for training. So there was no question of drawing any salary. So we joined in July. For 2 to 3 months, we were on so-called credit. By dancing, those of you who have gone to Mussoorie will know by dancing, everybody save a coat on credit, Kana on credit, even the messes on credit. We did not know. Then suddenly in September, we were told that we are allotted to railway services. The others were also wondering what is happening. Then one day, we find that 2 RPF fellow and one, what we came to know later as pay clerk from Northern Railway, was coming there, and the administrative officer told us all the railway people are going to get some payment. We came to know that a 1,000 rupee advance was sanctioned by Mr. Venugopal, who was the first member of the IRAS. I do not know under what rules he did it. We never asked him that. So all the other probationers were wondering, what the hell has happened? Where are you getting this money? So we were very happy we got this 1,000 rupees. He did it under some rule, I do not know. He foresaw that all of us were having some financial problem and arranged this. Then later we were told that you have been allotted to your home railway, and before going to the home railway, you must meet the railway board people. So in those days, there was only one train from Mussoorie to Delhi with one first-class coach. So 23 IRTS probationers and 13 IRAS probationers, everybody scrambled to get bus. So when we went to the station and then asked the station superintendent, Namko Dillado, he said, sir, 2 first-class coaches have been sent by additional member finance for you probationers. How we arranged it, I do not know. So all of us got into that coach. So we came to Delhi station. To 2 senior officers, we did not know they were senior officers. 2 senior officers met us at Delhi station and then said, you have your breakfast, you have to meet the railway board at 10 o'clock. So a bus was also arranged. So all the 36 of us got into the bus and went to the railway board. So in the boardroom, Mr. Venugopal unerringly, all the 36 people's history, he was able to say. You are a lecturer in Vivekananda College, you are a lecturer in Kurukshetra University. So for about half an hour, he was asking about the welfare of these various people. That was our first introduction to Mr. Venugopal. After half an hour of this, he asked another member, additional member, staff was there, please address all these officers. You know what he said? You boys have been pampered enough, now get to work. Then Mr. Venugopal said, all the IRAS officers will come to my room. IRTS officers can go. IRTS was known as, it was called the TTCD. I do not know whether you know this at all. people ask me, why did you prefer IRAS? Because I said TTCD does not appear to be an officer cadre. Traffic, Transportation and Commercial Department of the Superior Revenue Establishment of the Railways. That was the full name. Later, after 20 years, they changed it to IRTS. And the standing instruction in Railway Board was, you go to the receptionist and then say, you are an IRAS probationer, please go to Mr. Venugopal. No slip was required. And you will be sitting in his room, like Mr. Modi pouring tea, Mr. Venugopal will pour tea for you, will give you tea for you. And then when some senior officer comes, he will introduce you, these are my bright young officers. I don't know what management school teaches these things. These are the things which Mr. Venugopal on his own did that. So you feel your ego is really fueled up, saying when you say bright young officers, meet them, please tell them about what is your experience and all that. So he is the first member of our service. Whenever you used to come out online, you will always tell the FNSO, I want to meet the probationers. Normally probationers vanish. So it is a job for the FNSO to find out their whereabouts before Mr. Venugopal comes. Even after retirement, he used to show a lot. I was one of the few persons who met him in Hyderabad. He advanced his dinner time so that, that Sivakumaran Express used to leave at 8 o'clock. So he used to advance his dinner time so that he can give me dinner and then go. I don't think I don't need this. I think people can hear me from there. I don't need this. Mr. Chopra always talks about this thing. So I have a special affinity for this IRAS. We see a lot of reports recently, so many committees are there saying that your accounts are not are opaque, they are not very clear, they are not commercially oriented. So I wanted to recount some of the things which IRAS officers, very worthy seniors, have done that. We had a person called Mr. D.U. Rao. In 62-63, he took a very bold decision to mechanize and computerize accounts. Before that, the volume of work was so much that manually it was not possible. And he was also the person who changed the accountant. Our goods accountant was on a received basis. He made it on a forwarded basis. This is something very fundamental, but he did that. And many colleagues of his told him, why are you risking this thing in this computerization and all that? Why are you risking your PF? But he went on. In 63-64, somebody said you need to have machines, punch cards, etc. So Wadi Bandar alone used to issue 2 lakh invoices a month. So you can imagine the volume of work that was involved. If it had not been mechanized, it would not have been possible. And we have several such, what you call, initiatives taken by the worthy seniors. He also made another thing, that he did not want any outsider to be in charge of the computers. He said only our railway people will be trained and they will be manning the computers. Later, when we went for bigger computerization, this helped. I don't know how many of you know that we were the first government organization to do computerization. We were the first government organization to do discounted cash flow technique for evaluation of projects. And we were the first government organization to introduce exchequer control. When I was FC, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, he was very happy to see that railways are able to control their cash outflow through the exchequer control system. And exchequer control, I am forgetting something. Job costing was introduced in repair workshops also for the first time. So we have on our own modernized, you can say, and there was also an accounting reform done by Mr. V.R. Ganesan in 1980s, where our normal accounting system changed to a performance budgeting system. I do not know how many of you are aware. Our budget document is this thick, but it contains enough information for evaluating the performance. So in my time, Maya Sinha used to work out cost of POH, varies so heavily. It is 2 to 3 times in the eastern sector compared to workshops on the western or the southern sector. So the basis for computing this management information was made available in the 80s. It took us more than 2 years to introduce the system because the vouchers have to emanate from the field level. I think some assistant officers were appointed on special duty, 80s, 81. I was also part of that. So on our own, we have tried to modernize the so-called accounting system. And later, when we went for some Asian Development Bank loan, McKinsey were appointed as the consultants for preparing a detailed report. And their report said, in India, railways are a sunrise sector, not a sunset sector. And as a part of the recommendation, some accounting reforms had to be done. And I understand that KPMG was appointed as the consultants. And as usual, all those reports are lying somewhere. They are not being implemented. Indian Railways are the most studied organization of all the government departments. I can remember right from what was the first report? McKinsey report was one. Then there was the Rakesh Mohan Committee report. Then there is a Kakautkar report. And the latest is the Debrai Committee report. So I wanted to give my private opinion about Mr. Debrai Committee report, especially there, what you call the recommendation about separating the infrastructure from the running. Now, only 2 railways in the world, the Swedish Railways and the UK Railways, have attempted this particular thing. And as somebody showed that chart, it has been a disaster in UK, the so-called separation of infrastructure from the running organization, etc. Why not take the example of German railways, French railways, Chinese railways, or Japanese railways? They have not. They are all very successful railways. They have not taken up this so-called separation of infrastructure with this thing. In our time, NP will remember, we used to do train-wise costing. We found only the Shatabdis and Rajdhanis were profitable. All other trains were not profitable. So if you want a private operator to run, he is not going to take up your Janata trains. He is not going to take up your even Frontier Mail. He will only ask for Shatabdis and Rajdhanis. So what happened in UK, all the so-called branch lines, the number of services got reduced. And they had to give a subsidy. So even after the separation, what is the benefit? The government is spending the same amount of money. So I would personally say people who are armchair critics, who are armchair economists, they do not know how the railways function. They have not seen a yard fellow working in winter, in summer and all that. So the 5th Pay Commission, I told Mr. Justice Pandian, sir, you go to any yard. You are equating a person who is working 24 hours in this with a chaprasi working in an air-conditioned office or in the secretariat. The pay scales are the same. Class 4, the pay scales are the same. We should have some differentiation for the hardness of work. I do not know whether in the latest Pay Commission whether such a thing has been done or not. But this is the British have left us 3 pillars: defense, railways, and post and telegraphs. As far as emails, your mobile phones, and the so-called mobile payments have finished off the post and telegraph department. Defense is still there, but this kind of so-called separation and the kind of what you call privatize or corporatize the production units, hive off your health units, hive off your schools, etc. I don't know whether it's going to do any good to the railways. They do not understand places like Gadra, Sakradarpur, other places. There is no school. The only school is the railway school. And in places like Jhansi, all the outside people used to come to the railway hospital because they were able to get good medical advice and medicines. So this kind of, I think now our total budget is about 1.5 lakh crores. We have few medical units which are required for far-flung places. I really do not know whether it will be one of those reports which are confined like Kakautkar Committee report, or even I think there was even Dr. Sridharan Kapi, there was a lot of report about delegation of powers to general managers. Of course, there are going to be major challenges because of the Pay Commission. But I wanted to tell you one thing, that unless we do technological upgradation, railways are not going to be profitable. That is where we have what you call lacked, or as somebody said, there is a inbuilt resistance to any change. Somebody said that, Bharat said, I think, that you should be willing to listen to somebody saying you are wrong. I reminded of a story. One of our IRAS officers was DRM in Rajkot, Mr. S.K. Komal. He suggested at that time that goods trade should be timetable. He said at that time, but the COPS at that time said, what nonsense, it cannot be timetabled. Now we are talking about the same timetable. So I am saying, in railways, it is not going to be easy for somebody to say, sir, you are wrong. He will be found in enough railway the next day. Another COPS was there. One of a very bright traffic officers said that in those days, we used to do shunting of wagons. So he had developed a mathematical, I think, arithmetical progression or something like that. So that FT told him, I am only a matriculate. So long as I am there, only it will be done my way. I don't want any of these newfangled ideas. So I do not know whether the winds of change have come or not. But I can tell you one much. Railways have a long way to go. I also was thinking, till my visit to Germany and South Africa and this thing, that Indian railways are cat's whiskers. Our track maintenance is fantastic. You go to Germany, 250 kilometers the train is running. There is no oscillation. There is nothing. You can balance a cup of water on your head. But in Rajdhani, the moment you cross 90 kilometers, it is impossible. You cannot drink your soup, whether in A compartment or G compartment. We have got new coaches, but unfortunately, I am told that couplers have been indigenously designed, and so the Rajdhani is now terrible. Another thing, other countries have gone so far ahead. You go to South Africa, they run 20,000-ton trains, coal or iron ore, 20,000-ton trains, 4 or 5 kilometers long, with 6 diesels or 6 electric locomotives, only one driver. There is no guard. There is no guard. And it comes from the colliery, it comes to the port, where it is a fantastic arrangement. In 90 minutes, the entire 20,000 tons are loaded. How? 2 wagons are coupled together by a rotary coupler. There is a tippler. So it just tipples it. It is not even disconnected. Whereas another thing, you have to disconnect, connect the hose pipe again. This kind of rotary coupler, why we cannot do it here? After our South Africa visit, we found in 60s, they used some shuffle bogie, which is called a self-steering bogie. After they introduced that, wheel wear and rail wear has totally disappeared. So after our visit, we gave a proposal, because it is a proprietary item, we gave a proposal. But the political establishment at that time did not do it. The NP will know that. Mr. Paswan overruled it because it was a single tender. So there is a lot which has to be done. And the pay commission, as somebody said, is going to be a challenge for you. 20,000 crores is it's a conservative estimate. It's going to be a big thing. You cannot raise your freights and fares to match that. I'm glad that in your agenda you have talked about some measures. This is not the usual austerity measures. What are they? 10% cut in TA. No seminars in 5-star hotels. No foreign training. This is the kind of usual 1940, whatever is coming from wartime is being reproduced every time. At least I am glad that you are taking some innovative steps like reducing the inventory of diesel, doing some sale and lease back. The entire airline industry works on sale and lease back basis. Indigo, they purchase planes and then they immediately sale and lease back. Recently, Air India has also got 7,000 crores by selling and lease back. But most of our rolling stock is already leased from IRFC. I do not know what is the potential for older locomotives, etc. Other thing we must do is, other biggest item is our electric charges. We are paying perhaps the higher than the high tension tariff. Most of the electricity board charges much higher than it is almost 7 to 8 rupees. We found in those days, I am glad that there is a recent development where double power is going to be given 200 megawatts at about 4 rupees, 5 rupees, or something like that. But there is a fly in the ointment. West Bengal government has filed a case that the railways cannot be termed as a deemed licensee. So I would request that this is a very, very, very desirable development, and we must fight it legally by engaging the best legal counsel. We also found another thing, our Srivastav and a number of others have worked in electricity boards. It's a 2-part tariff. One is maximum demand, another is actual what you call unit consumed. I was told, I am not a technical man, if you send the trains at the same time and they start at the same time, the maximum demand goes up. So, for a few minutes of maximum demand exceeding, you are levied very heavy penalty. But other things we do some internal check. But the electricity board payments, because they come with a penalty, I don't think we do any internal check. We found in Ratlam division in my tenure that for a few seconds or few minutes, we are paying 2 to 3 crores penalty. So it is worthwhile either revise the maximum demand or see that this kind of, we used to tell them, take a deep breath before ordering another train, or take a deep breath before starting another train. I want to add some more thing, because after my retirement, I have been working with Maharashtra government for metro projects on a public-private partnership basis. In our time also, we tried this, what you call, gauge conversion on a public-private partnership model. We got a very good offer. But later we came to know that because nobody puts his own money. If it's a 100 crore project, for 20 to 30 crores he will put as his equity. The rest has to come from banks and financial institutions. So whatever conditions or concession agreement you have should have comfort for the lender. Unfortunately, this is an aspect we are not really, railway contracts are all very one-sided. We all know that. They are all very one-sided. I have had an experience of what is known as FIDI conditions of contracts, which are more even-handed. Even small organizations like Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation and others have gone on to the better method, which is an internationally accepted even-handed contracts. Railways should really think about having this kind of thing. I can think of one case, Konkan Railway Corporation had a number of arbitration cases. They asked for arbitrator to be appointed. The MD did not appoint the arbitrator. So they went to the High Court, and High Court picked up me and some other people as arbitrators. Konkan Railway challenged it in High Court. When High Court said, you have lost your chance, these arbitrators will stand, they went to the Supreme Court also. Supreme Court also told them, you had your chance and you lost it, so better go ahead with these people. But what I am saying is, we also have to avoid this litigation. Railways, I know that we feel that I am right, you are wrong. Heads I win, tails you lose. That is the attitude. But the time has come now that we also should have a look at our general conditions of contract, make it more even-handed, My 2-3 other points I want to ask that most of you young people are afraid of vigilance. There, our experience has been that I was lucky, I must say that I said in my retirement speech, I said, I am very lucky to have graduated to pension without a suspension. This is it. Whereas we find that people like our former telecom secretary and former coal secretary, even after 4 or 5 years after the retirement, are being hauled up in court. But I find that so long as you state your reasons in writing in any tender case, you can always defend it. And one particular case was there where 3 of our senior officers were charged for major penalty. But we found that this is a case where there was no mala-fide decision. So CRB, myself, member electrical, met the Chief Vigilance Commissioner in this particular case and pleaded with him that we know the background of these officers, so you should take a view of this. So he made a statement. The previous CRB has written a major penalty charge sheet to be issued. The present CRB says that these officers are okay. So whom do I believe? Fortunately, we were able to convince him, and even though the additional secretary had written that major penalty charge should be issued, he overruled this. There was an interesting sidelight to this. The Vigilance Commissioner was Mr. Giri. So he rang me up on the racks after 4 or 5 days. And he said, I want an IRAS officer in my vigilance. Ashok is not there. Ashok was leaving the railway board. I recommended Ashok. Ashok went there for about 6 or 7 years. I said that, this is the kind of thing I wanted to say, that please do not remain in the railways. And also I felt that Mr. Venugopal used to say you should serve in more than one railway. We used to jokingly say there is a Indian Railway Account Service and a Northern Railway Account Service. We always used to say that. And also an Indian Railway Amma Service. There was another Indian Railway Amma Service. I have benefited immensely. When I joined the service, there were 8 railways. Then 66, the 9th railway came. Now there are 16 railways. When I joined the service, there was 1 FANCO. There are 6 to 7 FANCOs on each. So a deputation helps you. Vinayak Rao is here. So many Prasad is here. So many Mathur is here. So we were able to send people out on deputation. Mangala and myself were in atomic energy. I was the first one to go to atomic energy. Mangala joined later. So we were able to send people, and wherever the IRS officers have gone, They have always established their reputation. Take Mr. P.T. Venugopal, he was in ONGC. Mr. Bambi was in NTPC. Mr. Mangla was in NTPC. I mean, I can think of so many, my memory fails me. Otherwise, there are so many officers. Kalyan Sundaram was the one who was in finance ministry to decide the bifurcation between audited accounts and civil accounts. Like that, there have been excellent people because, we work as a team. Whereas IAS, IDS and others, they do not deal with tenders. IDS may, but IAS, ICS does not deal with tenders. So that is where I feel that you must go out. And please do not stick to one railway. It helps you enormously when you go higher and higher. The last point is that I find that these young officers, we have created sports facilities. Vaidilingam, when he was DRM Trichy, has created a wonderful tennis court in Trichy. But I find there are only very few. Only I am very happy to see what Mr. Kapoor, an young officer, is playing tennis these days. Otherwise, Vakil, myself, Komal and others used to be there. I don't know whether the youngsters are making use of the sports facilities. Compared to other services, what are the other perks that you have? Wherever you go, you have a house. Wherever you go, you have got a club. Wherever you get your pass facilities, you get hospital facilities. So if you go by HRD method, what is the cost to the company? It is not just the salary. Your cost to the company is much more. So my appeal to the young officers is, please do not consider transfer to another railway as a punishment. It is a learning process. Please also, NP will know, whenever you want to transfer somebody, suddenly people say, sir, my father is sick, my mother is sick, etc. But the same person, when you say there is a foreign assignment, suddenly all these problems go away. They find alternatives. Immediately all these problems go away. So it has been a wonderful experience. It has been nice. I could not have imagined that I will be able to see so many of my old friends in one occasion. I must thank FC and his team for inviting me in the first place. It is a wonderful service. You are going to have a tough time in the next 2 years, but I am sure you will be able to manage with all the time. I am very happy that people with MBAs and all others are joining the service. I thought with so many other options available to them, going abroad or things like that, they are still finding what you call so you are stuck with the IRAS. The IRA is also stuck with you, so make the most of it. Thank you very much.